Picture this, it's mid-2024. Elon Musk wants to build the most powerful AI supercomputer on Earth. Someone tells him it'll take 18 to 24 months minimum just to get a data center of that scale up and running. You know what he does? He ignores that completely, finds a dead appliance factory in Memphis, Tennessee, and gets the whole thing operational in 122 days. 122 days. That's it. That's the story in one sentence. Honestly, your average data center takes close to 4 years, and a big chunk of that is just waiting for permits and equipment. Musk crammed 4 years of work into one season. I remember reading that for the first time, and I genuinely did not believe it. Had to go to check multiple sources, and it checked out. The place is called Colossus. It's inside the old Electrolux factory on Riverport Road, South Memphis. From the road, it still looks like a factory. Big, boring, and beige. Nothing about the outside tells you what's going on inside, but what the outside hides is a beast that will serve as a furnace to the future for Elon. Okay, so let's talk hardware, because this is where my brain starts short-circuiting a little. When Colossus came online in September 2024, it had 100,000 Nvidia H100 GPUs. That was already the biggest AI training system anywhere in the world on day one. 3 months later, they doubled it. 200,000 GPUs, and they didn't stop there. By June 2025, it was 150,000 H100s, 50,000 H200s, and another 30,000 on Nvidia's newer Blackwell GB200 chips, all running simultaneously. All in Memphis. Fast forward to February, and the whole campus, because at this point it's basically a campus, is sitting at around 555,000 Nvidia GPUs. The price tag on just the hardware is somewhere around $18 billion. The power draw is close to 2 gigawatts. 2 gigawatts. That's what a large nuclear plant outputs. It's enough electricity for about 1.5 million homes, and it's all going towards training AI models. The networking side is something I don't see talked about enough. Most big AI clusters use InfiniBand, which is the industry standard. Now xAI skipped it and went with Nvidia's Spectrum X Ethernet instead, and the result is 95% data throughput with basically zero packet loss across the whole system. For comparison, regular Ethernet at that scale runs at around 60%. That 35-point gap matters enormously when you're trying to coordinate 150,000 GPUs on a single training job. xAI confirmed back in early 2025 that they were doing exactly that at 99% uptime. Cooling-wise, everything runs on Supermicro liquid cooler racks. Half of the thermal load is handled by air chillers, half by gray water recycling system that they built from scratch. In July 2025, they broke ground on what's reportedly the world's largest ceramic membrane bioreactor. It'll process enough treated wastewater to supply 13 million gallons of cooling water a day. I had to look up what a ceramic membrane bioreactor was. It's about as technical as it sounds. Now, in March 2025, they started Colossus 2, new site, same area, Tulane Road, about 5 miles from the original factory, 1 million square feet from a warehouse plus 2 advanced parcels, 100 acres in total. They built it in 6 months. Semi-analysts report that a comparable build took OpenAI and Oracle 15 months. That's xAI's whole brand now. Doing the thing faster than it's supposed to be possible, and then moving on to the next thing. December 2025, they grab a third building just over the state line in South Haven, Mississippi. The internal nickname for it is Macrohard, which sounds like a typo, but it's real. Conversion started in early 2026. That building, combined with the first 2 sites, is what gets them to the 2 gigawatt total capacity figure. And then, in March 2026, literally just weeks ago, a $659 million permit warrant was filed for yet another building on a 79-acre lot right next to Colossus 2. The stated goal is 1 million GPUs. They're at 555,000, so they're just past halfway, still building. Now, it's worth mentioning that the whole compute infrastructure isn't just for Grok. Grok 5 training is happening on it right now, but Tesla's full self-driving stack and the Optimus robot training pipeline is run on the same hardware too. That makes more sense when you factor in that SpaceX acquired xAI as a wholly owned subsidiary back in February 2026. These aren't really separate projects anymore. They're one big shared compute pool with a few different interfaces. Right, now here's the part that I find almost too ambitious to take seriously, but then I remember who we're talking about. Musk announced the Terafab earlier this month. It's a $20 billion semiconductor manufacturing plant going up in Austin, right next to Tesla's Gigafactory. It'll be a joint venture between Tesla and SpaceX. The idea is full vertical integration: logic chips, memory, packaging, testing, the whole supply chain under one roof. His reasoning for doing it was blunt. He basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, either we built a Terafab or we don't get the chips we need, and we need the chips. And that's it. That was the pitch. xAI is targeting something called a terawatt of compute capacity annually. That's 1 trillion watts. The chip market right now just can't supply what that requires at the pace they're trying to move, so the plan is to stop waiting on Nvidia and build their own. 2 chip types are planned. The first is an edge interference chip for Tesla cars, robo-taxis, and Optimus robots. Musk has said Optimus production could eventually be 10 to 100 times larger than car production. Even if that's half right, the chip demand implied that is staggering. The second chip, the D3, is designed for space. It'll go into a planned constellation of orbital data center satellites. SpaceX has already filed FCC paperwork to launch up 1 million of these things into low Earth orbit. That part still sounds like sci-fi to me, but SpaceX has already cleared harder bars than build a lot of satellites. The target process node is 2 nanometers, which is what TSMC and Samsung are only just now ramping on, so xAI wants to walk in the door at the cutting edge. I genuinely find this exciting, even though I know the timeline is probably going to slip. That's just Musk math. The why is usually right, the when is usually very optimistic. He said that the Starship would reach orbit by 2019. It took until 2023, but it got there. Same logic applies here. Vertical chip integration is exactly what Apple pulled off, and it became their biggest competitive advantage. Musk clearly studied the playbook. Now, look, I'm not going to skip this just because the tech is cool. The situation in South Memphis is not good. When Colossus started up, they were running dozens of gas turbines without the permits you'd normally need for that. Tennessee regulations have this quirk of a kind where a generator only requires an air permit if it stays on in one place for over 364 days. So xAI call them portable generators. Move them just enough, just so barely it's technically legal and practically the same thing. The Southern Environmental Law Center got aerial imagery and counted 35 turbines, putting out a combined 422 megawatts. That was nearly double what had been publicly disclosed. The NAACP filed a notice of intent to sue over Clean Air Act violations. The neighborhood right there, Boxtown, is a majorly black community. Median income around $37,000. Before xAI arrived, the area already had a cancer risk roughly 4 times the national average. Stacking what the CELC described as likely Memphis's largest industrial source of nitrogen oxide emissions on top of that, bluntly, is a problem. Residents have talked about gas smell, breathing issues, the constant noise, so xAI put up a $7 million sound barrier. Locals started calling it Timu Sound Wall because it basically does nothing. I think you can hold both things at the same time. The engineering is genuinely incredible, and the way they moved through this community, was wrong. Speed shouldn't mean running over the people who were already there. That's a fair thing to say. Okay, let's pull back. In under 2 years, xAI went from nothing to the largest AI training cluster on Earth, nearly 2 gigawatts of compute, over 500,000 GPUs, multiple campuses, and now they're trying to close the last gap. Their own chips, their own fab from the ground up. The terafab, if it works, is the final piece. At that point, Musk's empire doesn't need anyone else for the core stack. Not for rockets, not for cars, not for chips. The level of self-sufficiency is something no other tech company has ever come close to pulling off. It's either visionary or delusional, and I keep going back and forth, honestly. But when I look at the actual delivery record, Starlink is real, Falcon 9 is real, Colossus is real, I have a hard time just writing it off. The compute race in AI right now is simple to describe and brutal to execute. Whoever has the most GPUs training the best models the fastest wins. Musk figured out that early, and he's been pouring everything into it. Love him or not, and I do not, the strategy is clear and the execution has been fast. Grok 5 is being trained in Memphis as you watch this. A satellite data center might orbit the Earth in 5 years, and somewhere in Austin, they're laying the foundation for a chip factory that could change who controls AI hardware. That's not science fiction. That's just Tuesday in 2026.